behind these trees and up on this hill, shooting down on the Allies working their way up that pathway. If there was an MG42 team, maybe an MG42 set up on a tripod here with some cover underneath it, they would have an extremely decent field of fire over this whole area. I would think if Porter was here, he'd be in his element. He wouldn't want to leave this location all weekend. You could just about mow anyone down in that lot. So the Germans will have a fairly fun time here, and the Allies will have quite a difficult time down there. Then eventually the British will get up there. As I said, the tank will only be knocked out for small periods of time, and eventually it's going to make its way up one way or the other, unless it breaks down and I can't use it all weekend, which could also happen. But anyway, so we've got the woods here, so the Germans that are still surviving in this area will have to migrate over this way and probably attack the British infantry as they move up on the pathway down there. Some of the German infantry may also want to work back through the woods and join up with the main body of the troops at the gun emplacement down at the rear of the site, where the Americans are trying to assault. Okay, I'm back on the main pathway where the 6th Airborne Regiment will be moving up with the tank. They will still be travelling down this pathway. Now, as to how long it takes them to get this far, it's hard to actually estimate. It could take them an hour, it may take them half an hour, but that's very unlikely. I'm guessing more like it's going to take them the main part of the morning to get the tank and the troops to the other end of this pathway. But that all depends on how tough the Germans are. Lots of lovely brambles for people to hide in down here. Lots of bushes, lots of undergrowth. Any German snipers would easily feel a home in that lot. Also here. Now, this is the rear end of the site. We have a few ideas about what we could do in this clearing here, in this dip. It could be that we could set up some German tents as a small field HQ down in this area, which we have to capture at the same time as capturing the bunker. When I say bunker, I should say gun emplacement. Now, all this area can be driven into, so we could say that the tank actually has to get up here and get to this location here, or down into this hollow down there where the German field camp could be. You see people have possibly had a bit of a fire going here at some point. We could have a social on the Saturday night, maybe centred around this area here. Lots of it's a nice decent clearing, but we might have it, people might be more tempted to have it up by the cars. Now through here is the area where we would have to construct the gun emplacement. Now, somewhere along this area here is where the American forces will be trying to scale. Now, if we look down from the perspective of the Germans repelling them, you can see the Germans have got quite an easy chance at repelling the Americans, so that could take a considerable time. Pretty much like the Germans down at the other end, at the repelling the British. For the first day, the Germans have certainly got the upper hand because they've got the elevated area. Now, the gun emplacement we will have to build will have to be somewhere in this area here. Slightly optional as to where it's going to be. We've got the field out there through the trees. Now, that field isn't a field anymore. For this game, that will be the sea. So, yeah. So this will be the cliff assault, which the Germans are repelling the Americans on. Now, back over to this area here, this hollow. We do have a few options around here. It could be that if the Americans could not scale that area here, that it's severely hindering them, they just can't do it, that they get instruction to travel round and come up the rear here and work up through here, which will be far easier for them, and then they can come up and attack the Germans from behind. But that will have to be a decision made on the day as to whether or not we allow them to do that. I'm now down in this hollow, and you can see if you're in this hollow, well, first of all, there's a little bit of a shelter from the wind. It's only coming in through the trees at the back here, but all the way around you've got places where the Germans could be up on the top of the elevated areas here, firing down or throwing grenades. So it's not the most desirable place to be in. So anyone attacking from here would be coming up this area here. on this pathway. Now, once the Allies have eventually captured this position, the Germans will be falling back onto the other part of the site, and it will be up to the Allies to fight across and capture the hangar building, which I will show you in a little while, which is down at the other far corner of the site. As a matter of interest, in terms of a day 2 battle, on day 2 the obvious answer is to have a counter-attack by the Germans, so it's a complete game reversal, but possibly with a few changes made to the layout, just to confuse the Germans and throw them off the track, in case they think it's going to be a repetition of what they had. Now, we'd set up a defensive point here with a 30 caliber machine gun or something along those lines set up here. Now, I would think we would change from the Germans having to scale the cliff area. The Germans would be instructed to come up kind of sneaky and attack in from this low area here, but they may not be expecting the Allies to have a defensive position here. Obviously the Germans will eventually work some way of getting up here and taking control of the whole area. Yeah, so once the Germans get up here, we then obviously we're going to have the tank somewhere up here, so that's a defensive position. That's going to be potentially, it may be up there, or we may have moved it down here through the woods. In fact, it could even be positioned down here as our bunker position, but it's going to be a little bit obvious that they're going to see that right away. Personally, I think it would be better kept into the back. So, once the Allies have been pushed back past all these magic mushrooms and things, we may have another bunker up on the elevated area there, which they'll have to tackle. So it'll be quite entertaining for all involved. Yeah, so a form of defensive structure up on here, maybe the tank set up there in the middle, and various troops scattered around on the elevated area over there, plus a 30 caliber set up in the middle. And this here is the main roadway in, which the tank will have accessed to drive in here. You can also get jeeps and any other vehicles you wanted down into this hollow.